Hello, it's Adedoyin Jaiyesimi here and welcome to my YouTube channel. This video is for you if you're trying to make a transition into comms and you are trying to secure your first comms role. If you're like, hey, I need support, I need help, why is this so difficult? I need to know what to do, how do I get my foot in the door? This video is for you. Before I go into the content of this video, I actually have a video on my YouTube channel that talks generally about making that transition into comms from other disciplines and fields. So please make sure you watch that video. I'll put the link in this description or the description of this video. And then the comms avenue, we also have a guide. It's called the Transition into Comms Guide. Please let that guide be your go-to resource because there are tips on how to make that transition. So I would also put the link as well in the description of this video. So let's get into it. How do you secure your first comms role? First thing, you have to understand what communications is all about. Like, it's so great that you want to transition to comms, but please do not have an unrealistic idea of what working in comms is about. So for some of you, it's the social media appeal. Oh, I like to write, I like to go for events. All of that is very great. That's part of the comms work, but you need to understand the totality, understand what communications is, understand how it is important for any organization, and also understand the results and outcomes that are expected from the communications function. It's very, very critical. You do not want to go in and you do not want to be talking to people and what you're talking about are things that don't hold water, things that don't tie into an organization's objectives and goals. You don't want to do that. That would just disqualify you. So make sure you have that thorough understanding. And tied to that really is, how do you make sure that you are upskilling yourself? How do you make sure you start closing any skill gaps? So go for training, enroll for courses, whatever it is that you need to do to get that knowledge. So when you are having conversations with people, it is very clear that this person knows their stuff. They understand what communications is about, and it also helps you to also begin to think about the value that you'll be bringing to the table. The next thing is for you to map out your skill entry points and think about your transferable skills, which I talked about in the video that I asked you to watch. What is my entry point? Is it writing? Is it content creation? Is it social media? Is it relationship building? Is it media relations? You need to know. And that's why I asked you to really gain that deep understanding of what communications is all about, because that's what's going to help you to identify, hey, I already have strengths in this. Like, if you really break it down, what does a communications professional do on an average day? It differs from day to day and organization to organization, but there is a common thread. Which of those skill areas are things that you already possess? What can be an entry point? And why this is important is when you get into the rooms where you are having interviews, you know what to project, you know what to articulate. Because sometimes the challenge is they're like, oh, you don't have an experience or you don't have any experience, you're coming from this background, what will you add to the table? The things that you say, the understanding and the knowledge that you have gained will help you to put the connecting point. So I need to think about the connecting points between the skills that you have and the skills that is required of a communicator and the skills that the organizations that you want to apply to require. Very, very important. And like I've said before, make sure you gain mastery of the key communications, competencies, and skill areas. First thing, I'll just ask you to go and master the strategic communications framework from beginning to end. Understand the framework, understand the central role that communications plays in an organization. Understand and read up about the communications value circle. If you haven't, you can go through my bite-sized comms course on strategic communications and Google communications value circle. That's a good starting point. The next thing is create a 360 strategy for your transition, because your plan cannot just be, hey, I see a role that is suitable and I apply. That's great, but that's not the only thing you should focus on. You should think about, okay, what are the existing roles? How can I leverage LinkedIn and position myself for opportunities? And how can I begin to build a solid network so that I hear of opportunities that are not posted on social media or publicized or advertised in any way? So what that means is you need to really become intentional about engaging with people within the organization sector or the sphere that you're interested interested in. So on a communications level or from a communications perspective, how are you attending webinars and conferences where communications professionals are? Because you can now network with them. In doing that, you are also immersed and understanding the language of the profession. You can begin to connect with people and say, hey, I'm looking for this opportunity, and they will have you in mind when something comes up. If you have a particular sector or industry in mind, please, by all means, go for the activities or conferences that they have, whether it's real estate, whether it's fashion. Again, go there. You're learning about the language of the industry, but you are meeting people there. You never know where this door is going to open from. I always say this, we can't afford to be close-minded about our journey. There's so many ways that God can bring the open door, but it means you being deliberate and intentional, even being intentional about who you connect with on social media. I always give this example. When I was learning about policy communication, I added people and I would say to them, oh, please, I would like 20 minutes of your time to talk about this area of communications. I'm so interested in it. And a few of them responded, and I had good conversations. We're still connected now. So connect with people with the job titles that you're aspiring to. Put it out there, you just never know. You see, there's no room to be shy. There's like, when I go and engage on LinkedIn, I'm not even looking at anybody. I'm so laser focused on my goal. And that's what you need to do. So connect with people, engage with their content, go for events, really just bring yourself outside a box in this transition journey. And I think that tied to that is also showing your seriousness about working in this communications industry, because there's a way that you can show that I'm hungry for this, I desire this, that people begin to pay attention. So do it. Don't do it in a way that is stalkerish, but just do it in a way that people can see that you are passionate in how you're consuming knowledge, in how you are volunteering. And I always say this, while you wait, please make good use of the time. You can volunteer. You can go to an agency. If I know that summer, so between June and August, is a peak period for an agency, I can go to them and say, I would like to volunteer at this peak period. You never know what can happen. I cannot tell you how many people that their transition journey has been facilitated by shooting their shot. And you're only able to shoot your shot when you can articulate your value. Yes, you may not have experience, but you have knowledge, you have passion, and you have the desire to see that organization succeed, leveraging the principles of communications, and you're a quick learner. You have to know what you are bringing to the table, and you have to be able to articulate what it is that you're bringing to the table in such a way that the person is like, I need this guy, I need this girl. Next thing, start practicing for your interviews. What are the questions that they are likely to ask you? Shola Abulu has a video on interviewing for a comms role. I might do another one, I don't know. But practice. Start practicing how you will talk about yourself, how you will talk about your skills. You can already start preempting certain questions. They're going to ask you about your background. They're going to ask you about why comms, why are you making this transition? Why should they choose you above somebody else that has the experience? You need to start practicing your answers. You need to start learning how to really communicate that value that you're bringing to the table, because even though you don't have mastery of the core competencies, you are intelligent, you're a quick learner, there is something that you must be bringing to the table, and that thing must shine through when they speak with you, when they look at your CV, and they engage with you on any channel or platform. And like I mentioned before, please serve and volunteer while you wait. And if you can, get a mentor that can guide you on the journey. Sometimes it may be a long journey because there is no quick fix. Some people have it happens quickly. For some others, it takes longer than others. But as I always like to think about life, embrace the journey with gratitude and thanksgiving, knowing that a door will open for you, knowing that something will click, but make sure that you are doing your own part. I always say this to God. Anytime I'm doing something, I'm walking on water, I'm doing something, or I'm working, or I'm just going on a fake journey, I'm like, God, I'm going to do everything in my own part. Whatever is in my own part to do, whatever it is, I will do it. And I trust that God will play his own part. So please play your own part and do the work. It requires work, it requires effort. But my prayer is that all your hard work and all your efforts will pay out. And one of these days you will say, hey, Adedoyin, I got my first comms job, and I will be here to cheer you on. I will be here to celebrate with you. I hope that you found these tips useful. Like I mentioned before, please download the Transitioning to Comms guide from the Comms Avenue and make the most of your network. Be proactive and don't stop believing that a door will open for you. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.